Welcome to Wisdom on the Front Porch. Subscribe, ring the bell, like, and share the wisdom. Pull up a chair and join us with today's guest.
Sure.
All right. Welcome to another great episode of Wisdom on the Front Porch. It's a little cool on my porch. That's why I'm wearing a jacket even here in Central Texas. It's I don't know what the Celsius is, but it's about 50 degrees, and that's the warmest it's getting today. And it was so nice this weekend. I mean, everybody's wearing t-shirts and drinking lots of water, and then we're freezing today and want the cocoa or the coffee. And then tomorrow it's supposed to warm up again. But we're here with Wes. Wes is also getting a little bit of cool weather down in Australia. And I'm just so glad you're here. And so everybody pull up a chair here on the porch. We're going to try and keep it warm and cozy for you and give you some really good tools to use. So Wes, let's talk a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show today. It's a real honor to speak to you and your audience. So I'm Wes Towers. I run a digital agency, Uplift 360 here in Melbourne, Australia. Um, Learned a lot of lessons the hard way. I got into business pretty naively, actually. I had a skill set like most of us do, and started a business and didn't realize the amount of other things you needed to understand and know to make it a success. So that was started just over 20 years ago now, and fumbled and stumbled my way through, as I think we all do to a large degree. I think sometimes we hide our flaws, but I think we've all got them. So yeah, that's been my experience for sure.
Yeah, and you're right. It's without the guidance of somebody else. A lot of us just jump right into it thinking, oh, it's no big deal. We'll figure it out. And it's so much nicer when we have a coach, when we have a mentor, when we're in the room with other people. There's always talk about a park bench, and you can sit in the middle of the park bench with those that are higher above you and those that are not quite where you are, because you're learning from them as you're teaching the others. Sometimes you're only two steps ahead of somebody else, but you're helping them get to that two steps so you can get to your next two steps. So yeah, it's wise advice to get a mentor, to get a coach, to find
Yeah,
out who's in the business you want to do. And yeah, we all struggle. When I first came
absolutely.
into the business,
Yeah,
I just kind of jumped right in, and it's like, all right, and this whole door opened up, the world that I didn't even know existed. And I
yeah.
don't know if that's what it was like for you, but it's like, wow, what a hard learning curve it was.
Yeah, well, you're quite right. And I, by accident, found myself with a range of fantastic mentors. And the reason being
Nice.
was I bumped into a photographer and I was just starting out in business, had no idea. I think I was doing a proposal for him. Anyway, I met this guy and he mentioned I should go along to his networking group.
Oh,
And
nice.
I didn't understand what networking was or anything, but it was a networking group. And so I attended not his group, but another one because it was like location based. It was better for me, a bit of similar kind of idea. And the biggest benefit, in my view, from that networking group is I had a range of mentors around me. I could learn by observation how they presented their businesses, and they were different types of businesses, but you learn things by observation, but you also learn things by having a coffee with these people and just asking,
Yeah,
hey, how do you go about doing this thing? And they'll have different expertise and skill sets and experiences and just different values as well. So you kind of learn from a bunch of those people in the room. So I think it's always powerful to get into a room with people of a high caliber that you can learn from. I think that's a really, I did it by accident, but it was the best thing I
yeah.
could do at that time.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the best thing here. And it's really great. I mean, that's the best thing to do. Most people don't mind you asking questions, finding out about the business. They're eager to help you and help you understand. And yeah, just having a coffee, taking them out to lunch, maybe not McDonald's or something like that, but make the effort, take them out somewhere, and you pay for it. Doesn't matter if they're a billionaire. You pay for the lunch because you're the one wanting the advice. And that's a good thing. It shows that you're interested. It shows that you really do care to invest in your knowledge and what you're going to do. So I'm glad you said
Yeah.
that. So what is it that you exactly do with with your business right now?
Yeah, Uplift 360. So we're a digital agency. So we work mostly with trades, construction businesses. So anything
Okay.
in that field, so building materials, and we've done a bunch of steel company websites, and but also contractors and so on. So we build their websites, we do their optimization, so we get the website ranking as highly as we can in Google. But it's not just Google anymore; it's trying to show up in large language models, so AI.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is one that most people think of, showing up in all those places so that when people are looking for a particular service or product, that these businesses can be found. So it's an interesting space to work in right now because things are changing so much. I know most businesses are changing to a degree, particularly back
Right.
office things with AI. But being in the digital marketing space, it's changing rapidly, and it's phenomenal opportunities and challenges and all these fun things that keep me on my toes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's interesting. You started out talking with a photographer and now you're in a whole marketing business. So how did that happen?
Yeah, well, I studied graphic design multimedia at uni in the 90s. Websites
Okay.
weren't really a thing, but it felt like a good match for me, being somewhat creative and also a little bit technical, had that kind of blend. So graphic design felt like a space for me where my creative could shine, but also the technical, like the doing the work on the computers. Um, but yeah, by the time I finished my course, I got a job in a marketing company. It was an award-winning marketing company, by the way, in Sydney.
Oh,
So quite
nice.
reputable. But they'd never designed a website. So this is how far marketing has come. When we think of marketing these days, typically we're thinking about online and websites and social
Right.
media and all these online things. Back then, it wasn't even something that this company had done before. We had one one computer connected to the internet, a dial-up modem.
Oh,
We
yes.
shared, yeah, we shared the email address. So people would go over to this one computer, check their emails, and call out across the office, "Hey, you've got a message," blah blah blah. Things have changed a lot. The
Quite
speed
a
in which
bit.
we expect things, yeah. I mean, back then we were printing things out and presenting designs, and people would come into the office and then you'd go away and make the changes. And sharing files on these hard drives that was the size of a brick because our files were quite large. And so you'd need to share the hard drive with other people, and it's amazing where we've come. I feel quite old when I start speaking about all this
Oh,
tech
it's just everything's
change.
changed so fast. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not like where things take a transition and then it goes on through something. It's like, no, boom, this changes, this changes, this changes. And it's
yeah,
just incredible that it changes fast. I know COVID was a big boost to get everybody online, but I think we're kind of getting there anyways. It just kind of made it
yeah,
happen a lot faster. And now with AI that everybody's using, AI has been around for a long time, but now it's gotten into the mainstream. And so
yeah.
everything is changing. And it's good to have a marketing company, a digital company that is current with all of the changes that are going on. I mean, that can't be easy either.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. So because it changes all the time and we're in it daily, it doesn't feel as bad. I've always said if I stopped doing what I'm doing and came back in a year's time, it would be difficult to start again because things would have evolved so fast. But that's just accelerated the last few years, obviously, with things
Right.
changing faster. But because we're doing it daily, it's not too bad from that perspective. But it feels to me with all these tools and the way in which we can produce content really fast and we can publish it everywhere, and you can use AI to create the content. It feels to me that there's a bit of pushback on that type of information, and
Right.
I guess a lack of trust. Yeah, it
And
just feels to
that's a big one. Yep.
yeah. So just trying to build trust and reputation for companies. Now, obviously, the companies we work with, we want them to be quality companies doing a great service. That's every business needs to do those fundamentals right. But then getting that message out there so people can recognize what they're actually up to and create those trusts. So putting all the right signals in the right places. So when people read something, for example, it might be a social post, might be on the website. that they can believe it. They don't think, oh, this is just generically created by AI and we can't
Right.
necessarily trust the videos we see anymore, which is phenomenal, isn't it? So you see videos of long past people and it's kind of fun and exciting because you can see them and they look real. But it's
Right.
terrifying as well because, anyone can make a video about anybody. So our
Absolutely.
marketing, yeah, our
Yeah, I
marketing
was
has to
just
cut above the noise. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking with one of my other guests on a show, and we were talking about that. I had just seen the new version of the Running Man, and and it just immediately, he had this really heartfelt thing that he was saying, and then whoever's in charge of the videos that's shown to the people changed everything, and it made it look like he was actually saying it. So it is a little bit scary what can be done with AI. And it's like, how will people know what's real or not real? Unless there's a tag saying this was made by AI, maybe that's something that needs to be thought about. Is that we have to identify if it's made with AI or if it's real or not, because some people really don't know. I mean, some people think that 500 pound bunny rabbit is a real rabbit, and it's like, well, no, it's not a real rabbit. It would have a lot of complications if it was that big. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, or what was it for, gosh, years ago? It was like they had these huge spiders that they said were over in Afghanistan, and they was bigger than the tents that the people had, and people were really getting scared that they were putting up with these great big spiders, and I go, no, 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 we were just playing with it. So I know a lot of people are really skeptical with AI. It's a great tool, and if you're using it as a tool, that's wonderful. But if you're using it to try to convince people that it's something that it's not, that's where a lot of problems come in, because we've got a lot of kids that are growing up with AI, a lot of kids that are growing up with, they're not sure what's real or what's not real. Some of them are actually very smart, smarter than some of the adults. It's like, no, that's not real, But
Yeah.
but it is a concern to think about. So maybe there does need to be a label. I mean, have labels for our names right here on Zoom. Maybe we should have a label that says, if this was made with AI.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting world we're living in right now, and certainly it's impacting marketing. So we basically are doing marketing. So
Right.
marketing is communicating a message, and so getting that
Yes.
message to be believed is a big challenge. So we're trying to just use anything that has a higher level of trust. So trying to get great reviews.
Right.
Google reviews are phenomenal because they can't easily be doctored. Some people try and
Correct.
do reviews. I get emails all the
Yeah.
time. Hey, we can write Google reviews. That's not a smart move. You can get blacklisted altogether. But for the most part, we
That's
believe
good to
Google
know.
reviews. Yeah. There's and case studies, stories, examples. Just working on a website just before we got on this call, actually. And they've done a number of really reputable buildings. So they're in the building game, buildings that people would recognize here in Australia, and even potentially some of them internationally. So that's just great proof for them to show the case studies and the story of what they did for these projects. It's all verifiable evidence it's almost building like a suite of evidence to back up who you are and
Absolutely.
who you truly say you are. It feels to me there's less, back in the day, we used to do lead magnets. So that was giving away some sort of free
Right.
offer in exchange for, and people still do it and it works to a degree, but most of us realized it was not actually free. We're giving away part of our privacy. We're giving away our email address or our phone number. And that means
Right.
potentially get spam and a whole bunch of other calls and whatnot. So it wasn't free. It was giving away privacy. And we value our privacy more than we ever have before. So that hurdle has become higher and higher.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's my view, marketing is moving towards healthier places where it's about building a reputation and trust and authenticity and all of these things that can't easily be manufactured.
That's really important that you mentioned that, because privacy is getting to be a concern. We used to have everything available. Here's my phone number, here's my email, here's my web address, here's my physical address. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of entrepreneurs who, one, I don't want anybody to know my physical address. I'm one of them. I don't want anybody to really know what street I live on. And I don't want people calling me randomly. I've got, a separate phone for work and a separate phone for my private life. And some of the stuff I get on my phone, it's like, how do these people even get my information? Because I don't have it on a lot of places. And I don't even know who they are. And I get these
Yeah.
calls and it's like, yeah, I don't want to talk,
Yeah.
and I don't answer it if it doesn't have a name or who it is that's calling me, or I don't recognize the number. I'm not going to answer,
Yeah.
because it's just too dangerous. We have to protect ourselves. And I'm glad to hear that that's something that you don't take lightly, is the privacy of your companies that you work
Yeah.
for. I guess that's you work for
Absolutely.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so important to get all those security thing measures in place as well from a technical standpoint behind the
Right.
scenes. You
Right.
can
Now
jump
what?
in and
Go ahead.
yeah, go on. Yeah,
I
you
was
can
just
make
gonna,
a oh, yeah, go on. You know you go.
I'm gonna let you finish your statement, then I'll ask you something.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you can go and do a lot of things yourself these days on online websites and so on, but the security aspect is a major problem if you're not really sure what you're doing. You can leave doors wide open and people can hack your site and mess
Oh
around with
yeah.
your thing. It's important
Yeah.
to make sure these things are safe.
Now, one thing I've been seeing is um, some places say that your website should be ADA compatible, and that may be just here in the US. Do you have your website set up for those with disabilities? Is that something you have to be concerned about?
Yeah, there's definitely it's really hard to get all those boxes ticked. Even we do a website for an organization who it's outside of our niche, but we've been doing it a long time. It's a maybe I shouldn't mention exactly who they are, but they're in the mental health space, and they all the all the team are they have some sort of uh, either disability or mental health issues or lots of different things going on where these things are really important to a number of their audience. Um, but even to try and get every box ticked for them was incredibly difficult because you end up with very little on the web page. So it's normally a balancing act. I've got the testing tools. Even large government websites don't have all of it 100% right. So it's kind of in my view, a real challenge because these things are important, but it feels as though we're not quite there yet with a good answer for a good solution to the problem, to the needs of the potential audience. So
Right, right. And it could be
yeah,
that nothing's just developed yet that can do that. And maybe that's
yeah.
something someone needs to think about doing. So if you're good
Well, I think
at digital,
yeah,
that might be a business to get into and figure out how can people's websites help those with some kind of disability, no
yeah,
matter what it is. But I think it's because there's so many different kinds and levels of disability. It might make it difficult. One of the things I'm trying to do, and this might be helpful for our audience out there, is that old gentleman on my show, and he says, when you're holding up a book or you're talking, like my background has a lot going on. I've got a purple and gold background. I've got lightning rods coming out of the microphone. I've got a sword on there. I've got me dressed up in armor gear or some kind of, and I'm holding the world in my hand with lightning bolts coming out of it. And I've got my wisdom on the front porch logo there, and I've got reading between the words logo there. And trying to somebody say, wow, I really like your background. Well, instead of saying you like the background, you have to say a little bit about what you do like. Or if you're holding up your book and it's got this amazing cover, talk a little bit about the cover. Because a lot of times we just have our podcast on audio, but yet we're looking at each other when we're doing the podcast. So we might say things that we see, but then we forget that our audience can't see what we're seeing. So
Yeah.
just kind of trying to
Yeah.
remember that. It's like I see the background you have where you've got houses or buildings or something, and it looks amazing. It looks like it's in the daylight. I don't know, is it daylight where you are? Is it morning or evening there? It's
Yeah.
4:30 at night here. So
Yeah. There's so much information, isn't there? And that's why
yes,
when we're building websites, we really try to, we believe that the simple, clean, sophisticated, elegant website is best.
yes.
And they're typically the best for all consumers of the content. So, I mean, I think sometimes people try to cram too much in, and particularly because we used to
Guilty of
design
that.
for a big PC size, and now most people are looking on their little mobile phone, their cell phone.
Oh
So,
yeah.
um, so you've got to design it in a way that it works across all devices and serves the end user to the highest level. The accessibility scenario, one of the key ones, which we always find a little bit difficult, is the written language. There's some accessibility metrics that talk about the language in which you can use, and then
Hmm.
even it goes down to the sentence length so people can understand. But that's
Okay.
often in conflict with the style guide for the company. That's bigger companies will have a style guide, and they'll have certain language
Right.
and style, the way in which they want to speak. But it's polar opposite sometimes to what the
Oh wow.
accessibility guidelines are. So you kind of sometimes you're torn between these things and you need to get a balance. People need to make an educated decision on these things. So
Oh,
challenges. Maybe
absolutely.
maybe AI will solve some of these problems for us. Maybe
Maybe.
you'll just yeah, maybe you'll just be able to simplify a message, or you could potentially already through third-party tool simplify a web page,
Right.
into bullet points or something.
Yeah, that makes total sense because some companies, you know, um, oh, what was it? Thought of it the other day. Chevrolet used to have this song. It says, um, see the USA in a Chevrolet because it rhymed together,
Yeah,
and they were talking
yeah,
about their car that was getting such, oh goodness, I just aged myself there, didn't I? But but then you have other companies who have this really long sentence that makes total sense when they say it. And if you try to shorten it down, you actually lose a couple of things out of it. So that's got to be
yeah,
really difficult to still support your customer, but yet you've got to be able to have their customers interact with them and understand what they're doing. Um, and that can't
yeah.
always be easy. And like you said, maybe that's where AI comes in to help figure out what's going to be a good balance for it.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely going to help. And even like translations, back in the day, well, still we'd use Google Translate and it would be pretty rough. It would
Right.
usually be enough to give you a bit of an insight, but it could be misleading too, you might get
Yeah.
something wrong. But now with AI, obviously being a large language model, it can understand the full context and
Yeah.
nuance. And I mean, I can't remember who it was. Oh, a friend of mine who's an author. Um, I believe he's having his audiobook translated into a whole heap of languages through AI. Because it's
Oh
it's so
wow.
easy to do these days. So you're an author. Do you have the audiobooks as well?
I haven't yet. I haven't delved into
Yeah,
that yet because I know that's a different realm that I need
yeah,
to learn. And it's like I need to get some things settled down before I start doing that. I do have somebody
yeah,
who's willing to help me get it into different languages. And in fact, I haven't talked to them for a while. I probably should talk to them again. But and just a little side note on that, I actually picked up a translator. It's
mm,
just, somebody talks and then the translator repeats what they said. The thing of it
yeah,
is it was made overseas from America and it has a Chinese accent on everything that it talks.
yeah,
So when it's talking in Spanish, it has a Chinese accent and it's like, at first
yeah,
you're kind of like thrown off. It's like, wait a minute, what is it really saying? And then it's like,
yeah,
okay, so we have to kind of do a little translating on our own to understand. But even when I was in Taiwan, I went to Google to try and write, it's a different way of writing things, different way of saying things. I can't just say, the grocery store, they don't have grocery stores. And so I'd have to think of words to use. And so Google Translate did help. I actually went to the concierge and I asked him to make sure that I did it right. I told him what I was trying to say. He was very good English. I think he'd gone to university in the US. And he says, you really have it pretty close. But the thing that helped me with the most is I already knew that some of the words that I would use, they wouldn't have a clue what they were. So I had
Right.
to figure out what kind of words would they be using. And, they do have a supermarket. It's a little different than what we did. So we kind of had to go along. Now, once I had this paper of what I wanted to say, and I'd been going to the markets, they buy their food every day. You don't, have a big refrigerator or freezer like we have here that you fill up. They go shopping every day for their meals. And so I would go to this market. I loved it. I mean, they had carrots longer than I was tall, and I'm not that tall, but they had green beans that were that tall and all this other food. And it was so fresh and it was amazing. But I had a really hard time just having a conversation. And a couple of people there, really wanted to talk, where are you from and whatnot. So we tried. But once I brought this paper that just had a few things that, I told them, why am I coming to their market every day when I don't really buy anything? Why am I taking pictures of certain things? It's because we don't have it here in the US. I've never seen anything like this before. And once I gave them that paper, and it just had 3 sentences on it so they could see what I was doing. They were like, oh, okay, now we get it. Now we get it.
Yeah.
And even the concierge was kind of surprised. It's like, this is a really weird white American woman. She doesn't want to take a cab anywhere. She doesn't want, she wants to walk everywhere. Well, it was so beautiful there and I felt safe. I didn't walk at night by myself. I walked during the daytime. And
Yeah.
I actually had to ask other people what some of the things were. And there's like, well, there's a reason you don't want to walk by this place, even during the day. And it's like, okay, I'll stay away from there. But yeah, it's that communication and you want to get it right. So I'm glad we
Yeah.
have AI that can help. We do have Google Translate.
Yeah.
Maybe take it there and then put it in AI and say, does this say what I want it to say? But
Yeah.
yeah, having somebody who already knows what to do for your audiobooks, especially is
Yeah.
important because I've got people in my family from Mexico and from Spain, and to tell my story in their language, I've got to have them tell me what it is so I can read it back to them for my children's books because it's like, yeah, that's not what Google told me to say, and they'll show me and tell me why it wasn't quite right. So
Yeah. Yeah, it is an interesting. I mean, we're both speaking English, but I'm sure a whole lot of phrases that we use here that
oh,
only
sure.
only we use, and so
Yeah.
that's just within English speaking languages. So yeah, you can understand how things.
Oh, definitely. Well,
Um,
even here in the US, going between, if I was to go up to Maine or somewhere, because I grew up in Oregon, so, I would already not understand some of the things we're saying. Here in Texas, people use a lot of things that I've never even heard of before. I mean, my neighbor, bless her heart, she's like 83 years old, and she comes up with the funniest sayings. I mean, I can't even repeat them to you. Well, some I can't repeat to you because it's not very polite. But she says thing, and I have to ask her. Says, "What do you mean? What does that mean?" And she laughs, and then she tells me, "It's like, okay, I can see how that would mean that, but it's like, you know."
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
different.
There's just
Yeah.
so many different things that just even the language, but also I think with anything that we do, it's really great if we can have it checked by other people as
Oh,
well.
yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
my yeah, my partner, she worked in Antarctica a number of years over the summers. She's a radio controller, so she spent a fair bit of time down there. But an author had written a book located in Antarctica. So
Oh,
whilst
wow.
they did a lot of research, they had never been to Antarctica themselves, but read all the information and so on. But she wanted it checked by someone who actually knows. And so there was a couple of little things in there that just weren't right in terms
Right.
of, I can't remember what they were, but I think it was the uniform of the particular people in the Australian part of Antarctica where the colors were wrong or something of that nature, where you just don't know. So that's the getting the message right in the content. But then when you're translating them, things might, mean different things to different people. It's always good to get these things checked by somebody who knows.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I was just thinking, I don't remember the word that they use, but I remember hearing a missionary talk about just use a slang word like we use here, like you little fart or something, And and he said it wasn't that word, but he said it over in the UK, and people would grab their children and turn away from him. And he goes, "What did I
Yeah.
say? What was it?" Well, over there it meant something very different and something very naughty. And so he's like, it
Yeah, I
was
think
so
I know the word.
embarrassing. He goes, I would never, never say anything like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so you've got to
We
that.
in a,
Do that with your
we had
websites. You
something
have
like
to be careful. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had something like that in Australia where they had the tourism ad, but people, whoever put it together, hadn't done their research, and I think they really offended some nation. It might have been the UK, so the word that was used meant something completely different in another part of the world, and
Yeah,
it didn't go too well. So, but yeah, but all of these things we speak of is so true from a marketing perspective as well. The
right.
message you want to the world. Obviously, as a local business, you're only sharing it to other people in your
Correct.
field, but you still need to consider what they know about your industry. So, for example, I was working with a couple of days ago, must have been late last week, a plumbing company, and the materials that they'd provided, it was all very technical words and acronyms
Uh-huh.
and things that I didn't really understand. So we had to rework. They'd thought they'd written the content and they were just going to have it published on the website, but I advised them that we could rework it and make it simplify it so people actually understand what it is and it speaks to what
Right.
they're looking. You know,
Because
they've
if
got
you're
a
not in the industry, you're not going to understand it. I remember
yeah,
going to a dairy farm, um, and trying to understand some of the words that they were using, some of the phrases, and they go, well, it's just common sense. And I said to them, it's only common sense if you grew up with this. I didn't grow up with what you're saying, so that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know the terms that you're using. And it kind of shocked them. And it's like, wow, we never thought about that because everybody around them grew up doing this. And
yeah,
no, I grew up around beef cattle. I didn't grow up around dairy cattle. Very different animals and different way of doing things. Um,
yeah,
but it's true. If you can't talk to your customers in a language that they can understand, you're going to lose customers, or you're not going to attract customers to you. If you're always talking in technical terms, you know, they may not understand that. And do they have to understand it? I mean, if it's something that they have to understand for your business, that's one thing. But if, like you're saying, if it's a plumber and they want to work on the plumbing in your house or in your business, do you have to understand their technical terms? No, they just, you need to know that they know what they're doing and that they're going to do what you require, what's required by I don't, whoever's giving you the
yeah.
license and the okay.
100%. And because we're so close to our own thing, like we can't
Mhm.
see when we're doing it ourselves. I'm sure that from time to time I'll use phrases that are just not quite right. I'm really careful. I'm intentionally careful, given our target market, that I don't use too many technical words and so
Right,
on and speak more to the outcomes that they're trying to achieve because that's at the end of the day what they're wanting, the end goal. They don't really care about the software that I'm using or the technical
right.
things behind the scenes. They just want the end website to look great and to say the right message and to be fast loading and
Oh,
they want
absolutely.
there's all of these things. They just want customers. They want their phone calling. So Yeah, it's always it's a challenge for all of us, and we're all so close to our own thing that it's difficult. So it's good, as you said at the start, to have mentors, but also people who can speak into so good to have mentors to speak into your life and help encourage you and guide you, but also external perspectives around what you're trying to share, because you don't know you don't know, you can't see things from another person's perspective necessarily, because you've only got
Right.
your own view. So all of these
Yeah,
things are really important, and I think that's why it's really helpful in a lot of ways to hire experts in their fields who
absolutely.
are in your business as well. So it's good to have teams within your business, but sometimes it's good to bring out external parties with a different perspective and a different way of looking at things.
Yeah, because we can get so close to what we're doing that we forget that the world is changing so much, and maybe what we've been doing isn't, not that it's wrong, it's just not quite right anymore. And so,
Yeah,
yeah, bringing in an extra set of eyes, bringing in somebody to say, hey, this is really great, but if you just made this one little adjustment, I think it might help out. And
yeah,
that's why we have mentors too, is to help us see
yeah,
that. Look at basketball, professional basketball players. They have coaches, yes, but they have coaches who teach them how to be better at what they're doing. They
mm,
can tell them, if it's a basketball player, get your elbow in just a little bit, turn your foot just a little bit, because the way you've got your foot pointing, you're always going to miss the rim on the basket. Just change little
yeah,
nuances just to be better player. And that's how the champions get to be champions, because they keep improving on their skills. And we as
yeah,
entrepreneurs need to think about that. Just keep improving, keep going. And don't keep changing everything so much. You gotta let something kind of, like the stew needs to sit for a couple of days before it really gets those great flavors. But
yeah,
but you do need to keep up with the times, and if something isn't quite right, have somebody else take a look at it, because maybe it's just one thing that you've been looking at so long you can't see it anymore. So
yeah.
that's good. So how do people get a hold of you?
Uplift360.com.au is the website. And so that's an Australian website. That's why the .au, but we serve clients all around the world. Mainly, as I said before, trades, construction businesses is who we look after. You can
Okay.
book a strategy call with me from their website as well. So,
Oh, good, good. Yeah. So when you say trades and construction, just so we're clear on the wording,
yeah.
and if we're not missing anything up, what is trades and construction really mean?
Yeah. So other parts of the world might more so call them contractors. So it might be your electrician, your plumber, your heating and cooling HVAC, could be the painter. Those are what we would call trades.
Okay.
And the construction companies, so builders, building of homes, apartment buildings, um, and all the building materials associated with that. Anything to do with that kind of world is who we're looking after.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Wes, for being here. I really appreciate it. I love just having a wonderful chat with you too. This is great. I love great conversations. This was another great conversations.
It
So
has
there
been. The
you
time
have
has
it. It
flown by,
has.
hasn't it?
It's gone,
Yeah.
gone very fast. Yeah. Well, thank your audience for being here too. And if you've gathered some great information from here, be sure and share it with somebody else. Be sure and like us. That sounds so funny to say that, but we've got to know that we're doing the right thing. If you have suggestions or comments, go ahead and go to the website, wisdomonthefrontporch.com, and let us know. Let us know the things that you want to talk about. And just remember, be here next time and pull up a chair on the front porch with us. Thank you.
Thank you, my front porch friends and neighbors, for pulling up a chair with me and my guest today on Wisdom on the Front Porch. Now, if you've got value from this conversation, would you do me a favor? Leave a quick review, then share it with someone you know who could use some inspiration. It helps more friends find their seat on the porch. And hey, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss what's next. Until then, keep the porch light on for new wisdom every time you show up. Your seat's always here for you on the porch.